Do you usually let the photographer decide what kind of tone or
Yes.
That
Yeah.
fine.
Yes, usually when I go, well, it's because you go with an idea, or you by then you've already talked with a photographer. I want to do this type of shoot, or I have this in mind. What do you think? So by then we both go with that mentality of, okay, he or she already knows what colors to get for that shoot, and you already know what attire to wear. So it's like you both come to a bonding. You get me?
Yeah.
So, but yes, the colors and all that, the angles, that's all to the photographer.
Okay.
And usually when you're going with a photographer, you're going with them because of what they produce, like their aesthetic.
Yes.
People come to me because of how I edit. But I do have clients who come to me and they're like, I edit my way, and they're like, oh, actually, that's not what we wanted. We want natural, traditional pictures. I'm like, then why did you hire me? And then they ask for a refund, and I'm like, no, I gave you the service you paid for, and this is what you're going to get.
Right.
So
How do you just for anyone who like might be looking to get into photography, what would be some of the like tips that you would give them that you wish you had when you started, as far as like handling a client pre and a difficult client before and after the shoot?
Oh, so I've learned the hard way is that even if you're barely starting out, especially if money comes into play,
Right.
you always want a contract. You always want some written agreement, because especially when you're new and you're starting out, you can get taken advantage of, like, no joke.
Yeah.
There's honestly a lot of things that I could even just say for young photographers, which we covered when we did my episode.
Oh, okay.
But contracts, everything, written agreement, and
Up on Terricolas podcast
dealing
YouTube.
with definitely, it's kind of hard, especially when you're dealing with friends and family, because those are the people you're going to go to first when you're starting out.
So then,
and
like,
those people are usually the ones who are going to like bite you in the ass, and the ones that are going to just
Yeah,
screw with
right.
you the most. Which is why I personally either don't work with family and friends that much anymore, or I'm very business professional with them, and this is exactly how we're going to go.
Yeah, and so like that, because there's even like with people, friends and family, did you ever get a reaction when you like bust out a contract? Like they're like,
they're like, oh, you're like a real photographer, and I'm like, well, yeah, I'm charging you real photographer prices. Like, I don't, no, and I still get that now. Like, yeah.
So this is for the both of you. At what point do you feel like, you know what, I'm gonna charge model money, like I'm gonna charge photographer money? At what point did you feel like
confident to be able to?
Confident enough to be like, oh, I can do it?
Well, at first I did it just as a hobby. I really wasn't doing it as like a business, because like I said, I didn't think it was gonna grow like this much.
Right.
But when I started seeing like those DMs, the emails coming in like, hey, I want to shoot with you, hey, this and that, hey, this and that, my mentality changed, like, hey, like this could be my thing. And that's when I shifted from that mentality from doing it a hobby to doing it as an actual business itself.
That's such a good feeling, huh? When you're like, ooh,
yes,
I could like
yes,
make money
because
off
you
of
don't,
doing
and
this.
it's especially when it's least expected. You get me? Because you're just they're doing what you love, and all of a sudden it's like people are reaching out to you, so you could do a session for them and this and that.
And that's like such a great feeling, because not only do you
Yes.
get to get paid for something, but you're doing something that you love.
That you love, yes.
Yeah.
So, Gabriella, at what point did you feel like, you know what, I'm going to start charging? Because I'm pretty sure as you started out, like, hooking people up, like, hey, let me
Yeah, like
let me
I started
practice.
out doing $50 sessions for 100 photos and like a couple hours of time.
100 photos, $50.
I was like 15.
They hooked me
I was
up.
15, and then when I was finally in college and getting more work, I upped my prices. And like every year, I would basically base myself off of, okay, am I charging enough for my sanity? Am I charging enough for my time and my quality of work? And every year I would shift it, but I would let people know like that I was changing. And even now, I'm changing my prices come next year.
Do you find that? I think that. Do you find that with upping your prices, there's always hesitation because you're like, well, what if I'm not going to, get the return that I'm looking for? And then, have you been successful at each, dive into that uncertainty that you've taken, and comfortable with it? So I work with cars, right? And it's very, I think it's always uneasy to increase your prices. But I found that you end up working with the type of people that
you want.
Yeah, when you do that.
No, and I love that question because people are always so hesitant to up their prices because they're like, well, what if
We lose
these people that I
clients,
already
yeah.
have don't want to do it? But not to be negative, but the clients usually that you lose aren't really the clients that you want to work with.
Right.
you're aiming for a certain client. You're aiming for that client base. So yeah, when I change my prices, I usually do lose some people, but I also believe that photography is an investment. It's an art form that not everybody can afford, and I understand that. So I do work with people. I do work with their financial house. I do trades, and I do payment plans and offer like military discount. But yeah, I do raise my price because I want people that will appreciate me, that want the people that are willing to go for the work that I offer and the work I want to start offering.
Yeah, no, that's dope. And you're like, this is what I'm gonna provide for this, and there's no misunderstanding, right? Like you, and you have, and I guess as a photographer, it's a little easier to be like, oh, we'll check all of this out, right?
Yeah.
So this is what it costs. Do you want it or no?
And I lay it down like I hand edit. I go through. I double the photos in black and white. If you want to look at my client wardrobe, I do that. If you need a setup, like I do a lot of picnic shoots and I do a lot of stuff where we go out of town. But the thing is, I tell them I charge for travel fee. I charge if you want me to bring in a vendor with food for your shoot and stuff like that. I make sure nothing's a surprise.
Los taquitos de tripitas.
No, I have a client and they want to go do an engagement session and they want tacos, so I'm working with a taco vendor to come and set up a cute little spread for them.
Hell yeah.
Pretty good. Tequila shots and everything.
That is really good.
No,
You're like, speaking of which.
I know, you said you were going to get pictures with you and your wife. I'm still waiting.
Me and my wife and I know. Holy bejesus. Sarah, don't kick my butt.